Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going over my UFC Fight Island 2 picks between Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige. This is for tomorrow at 7 p.m. Always love a midweek UFC action. Also have a NASCAR video for tomorrow, so it's going to be fun to have both of those going on tomorrow. So let's get started. As always, I appreciate it. Hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. You can also hit the notification bell if you want to be the first ones to watch whenever I post. So I'll be going fight by fight, giving you some thoughts between each of the bouts that we have for tomorrow. It is down to 11 fights as the Rodriguez fight has been, or the Gonzalez fight has been canceled. So starting with the main event, Calvin Kattar is a minus 300 favorite. He has a 1-inch reach advantage, a 4-inch height advantage. I just think he's going to be able to get the job done. I think it could have a chance to be like a slower fight, just going the distance. I'm not sure if he will knock out Dan Ige. Ige is coming into this fight getting a win, quote unquote, against Edson Barbosa. The judges saw it that way, but the public did not see it that way. Even I did not see it that way. I thought Barbosa got robbed again. But because that he got the win, he is fighting Calvin Kattar in this main event. Kattar average fight time is 10-14, so he's not normally going out and getting first round knockouts most of the time. He is recently been pretty good. He averages good takedown defense of 77%. Danny Gate does like to go for takedowns. Goes for that like 2.15 per game, but it's going to be tough to take Calvin Kattar down. And Kattar's coming into this winning 3 out of his last 5 fights. And Dan Ige is 1-5-0. Kind of got lucky against Barbosa, but that's why Dan Ige is in the main event. But my money is on Kattar. And that's the first pick. Going on to the second pick, we have Tim Elliott against Ryan Benoit. Elliott's been kind of sloppy in his UFC career. He is just not you never can count on him to get the job done because he always loses a lot of the fights and just sometimes his cardio is not there. But people do expect him to win this fight. It's a small favorite of minus 120. Not another one of these fighters is particularly scary. So I could see this going the distance, getting one of these fighters getting the decision win. Elliott does have 2 inches on Benoit, but he has a 2-inch reach disadvantage. The thing that Elliott is good at is he's better at getting strikes landed per minute. He absorbs less strikes per minute. His defense is better, but he has lost 3 in a row, and on the other side, the other fighters also lost 3 out of his last 5. So this fight could kind of go either way, but I do like Tim Elliott. Just because he's a little bit better at getting takedowns, and I think he will be able to get some takedowns on Benoit just because he has just a 64 takedown defense, and Elliott is pretty good with his takedown accuracy at 55%. So far I like Elliott and I like Kattar. The third fight is between Jimmy Rivera and Cody Stamann. Stamann won his last fight, which was about 4 weeks ago. It was an emotional fight for him, as he just lost his brother, I think, the week prior to that. But he is still in the fighting mode. He has just booked another fight. Against Jimmy Rivera, it's pretty interesting. Rivera has a 4.5-inch reach advantage, even though Stamann is 2 inches taller. So that is going to be a little bit tough for Stamann. He's going to have to avoid the jab. But I do like Stamann just because he hits harder. His punches, he throws more per minute. He's better at his accuracy is better. He goes for takedowns, and I think he will be able to have some success at getting some takedowns, even though Rivera is pretty good with his takedown defense. But just having some of that advantage in the height department, I think he will be. And Rivera's coming into this needing a win, having lost 3 out of his last 5. They were some tough opponents against Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling, but I do like Cody Stamann. He is a slight underdog, but he looked amazing against Kelleher, taking him down a few times. And then also the draw against Song Yadong was pretty impressive. Also, he looked like he did get the job done against Song Yadong there. So I do like Cody Stamann in this one against Jimmy Rivera. Next up, we have Molly McCann against Talia Santos. Molly, the Meatball McCann, that's her nickname. She is 5-4, 125 pounds, a 62-inch reach compared to Santos with a 68-inch reach. but you gotta like McCann a lot just because she throws a ton. One of the most like strikes thrown per minute in the women's division at over 6. If you look at the matchup here, her average fight time is 13 minutes, so usually it's going the distance for her, which is great because she will just keep racking up those significant strikes. 6.49, she's good at with the accuracy. The only concern is that she does absorb a lot of punches at 4.95. She does go for some takedowns, which is also good to see. And she's coming into this on a 3-fight winning streak. I like Molly McCann in this one. She's a slight favorite, but I think she'll get the job done. She's also pretty appealing to play on Draftkings and Fanduel just because she racks up those significant strikes. And then next up we have Al Hassan versus Laziz. Al Hassan is almost a 300 favorite. I believe Laziz is making his UFC debut in this one. Normally, I don't like to trust guys making their debut, especially against tough opponents like Al Hassan. Al Hassan is pretty good at getting those strikes thrown, 4.59 per minute. His accuracy is good. The defense is pretty good too. And he's coming into this winning 4 out of his last 5 fights. I just don't want to risk it with Laziz. Don't know much about him, but I think there's a reason Al Hassan is a big favorite. So I'll probably go with him in this one. And then on to the prelims with John Phillips versus Khamzat Chimaev, something like that. Phillips is a big. There's no eyes on this right now, but I think he's going to be an underdog, a pretty significant underdog, as Chimaev is a pretty heavy. He's priced a lot higher on the DraftKings and FanDuel. He's younger. He looks like he's starting to get his chance in the UFC and then probably stay there if he performs well, which I do think. Still have no confidence really in John Phillips. Wouldn't want to play him anyway. Only 2.64 strikes per minute. He doesn't go for takedowns. Just don't know what he's really doing out there. And he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. So I have no interest in John Phillips. I would definitely go with a young kid making his debut in this one. Even like I just said, I don't normally like to trust him. But when you're going against a guy that's kind of just looks to be on his way out of the UFC, I will go with the up-and-coming newcomer. Next up, Ricardo Ramos versus Murphy. Another fight that is pretty close. A lot of these fights have pretty close odds. Ramos is a slight favorite at minus 160. If you look at the matchup stats here, average fight time of 10:34, so definitely got some finishes under his belt. He has similar reach, same height as well, so all of those are pretty much the same. You got to look at the strikes center per minute, and that is Ramos' a big advantage there at 3.05. He also goes for takedowns, and the takedown defense of Murphy is bad at just 25%. So I will be going with Ramos to get the job done here as a slight favorite. And now we got a matchup against 2 names that I will be struggling to pronounce. It is between best bet is Bukakis versus Michailidis. Probably butchered that, but both fighters making their UFC debut. Bukakis has a pretty big favorite at minus 240, has a 2-inch reach advantage, 3-inch height advantage on his opponent. Look at the matchup stats. I don't think there is any, really, so can't go off of that, but I would probably just be trusting Vegas here because unless you want to dig for some stats based on where they've been fighting, but probably just go with whatever whatever the Vegas is telling me, and that's telling me that Bukakis will probably get the job done here. In this fight, I like a lot. Jared Gordon versus Chris Fishgold. Fishgold goes for takedowns at a pretty significant clip at 4.55. He is a tremendous grappler. And Gordon, we'll see how good he is at stopping takedowns. That will probably be the deciding factor in this fight because both of these fighters do finish their fights. Fishgold gets a lot of submissions, so he will be appealing. Hopefully, he can get like a first or second round submission if he does win. And Gordon is good at getting some knockouts, so Gordon throws a lot more at 6.26. Fishgold doesn't throw a lot. That's because he is spending a lot of the time on the mat or on top of the opponent trying to submit him. His takedown accuracy is decent at 50%, and the takedown defense is 57% from Gordon, so that's decent. Both fighters coming into this needing a win. Here, Yurkani, and he also lost to Kattar. For Fishgold, pretty tough opponents there, and then on the other side, Um, Gordon has lost 3 out of his last 4 fights. I will be going with Fishgold as a slight underdog here. I just think that he will be able to submit Jared Gordon hopefully in like the first or second round, and then we'll be able to rack up those Draftkings points and Fanduel points. Next up, we have Deanna Belbita versus Liana Joja, I think. Belbita is a minus 160 favorite. She has a massive 6-inch reach advantage, a massive, well, not a massive, but a 3-inch height advantage. It's significant. And she throws a lot more, like 4 times as much, 6.53 significant strikes thrown per minute. Liana does not throw too much. See on the matchup stats, I think that Belbita is going to win. I would definitely take like bet on her in this one. She absorbs a lot of punches, but Liana doesn't throw that much. And her takedown defense is decent at 64%. And she doesn't really shoot for takedowns too much, but they are, when she does, she usually gets it. So I like Belbita coming into this fight against a loss against Molly McCann. I think she will bounce back in this one. And then last but not least, you have Jack Shore versus Aaron Phillips. Another fight that I think we don't have odds on as of now. I like Jack Shore. He is one of the most expensive. He's the most expensive fighter on DraftKings. A perfect 12-0 against Phillips, who is 12-3. He throws about 3.58 strikes per minute. He goes for takedowns as well, so hopefully he can take him down. Hopefully he can take Phillips to takedown city. Only has a 35% takedown defense rate. Jack Shore is going to be the guy for me in this one. So that is the fight-by-fight breakdown of each fight, and then on DraftKings, I will go ahead and tell you who I like as my core plays. So let's going to start with Calvin Kattar, a main event fighter at only 9,100, especially a guy that's favored by minus 300. He should be the most expensive fighter. His only fight on this card that is for 5 rounds, and he can get you knockouts. He has knocked out quite a bit of fighters in his career, and he usually racks up like 100 plus fantasy points. And now that this is and wins, and now that this is a 5-round affair, if it does go all 5 rounds, he's probably gonna be putting up a lot of strikes. So I like Calvin Kattar a lot on DraftKings. FanDuel, it could be a little bit of a different story depending on how you build your lineups, but DraftKings, I would definitely play him. I definitely love Kattar, and then I like Jack Shore. I think he's going to be able to take Phillips to takedown city. Not good at defending takedowns. He spend a lot of time. He also is only one fight on DraftKings, but he does get some advances. He is decent at throwing, so I like Kattar and Jack Shore as my payups the most. And then for some cheap value plays, I will probably go with as a decent mid-range play, I like Molly Meatball McCann to beat Santos. She pretty rare that you get like a women's fighter that throws as much as she does, over 100 significant strikes in many of her fights, in many of her 3-round wins too. So she's out there just throwing, tremendous cardio for her. Only 8,200. It's pretty rare that you get like a mid-range fighter with that much upside on DraftKings. So definitely love McCann. She's probably one of my favorites in that range. And then I like Cody Stamann to pull off the upset against Rivera. He's slight underdog, but I like Stamann. He looked incredible against Kelleher, and he can get some takedowns if the opportunity presents himself. He's not gunning for them all the time, but he is also much better on the feet than Rivera. So I definitely like Cody Stamann at 7,800. And then some other fighters I would say that I like is Fishgold 7,900. Dan Ige at just 7,100 I would probably consider, just because it's a smaller UFC card, only 11 fights. Pretty rare that you get a main event fighter as your cheapest, like one of the cheapest options at 7,100. Even in a loss, I could see if this does go 5 rounds, that Dan Ige puts north of 50 DraftKings points, which could be enough, especially if I have no confidence in any of these other fighters that are similar price to Dan Ige to even put up like 20 or 30 fantasy points. So Dan Ige is going to be in consideration. But these 4 I love on DraftKings. And then I'll go quickly touch on FanDuel, which I think you could mix up the strategy a little bit over there. Okay, on FanDuel, they have Calvin Kattar at $22. So it's going to be, if you play Calvin Kattar, it's going to be tough to pay up for any pay up for 2 or 3 of these guys above $18, and they also have Danny Gay $18. So I have no interest in Danny Gay on Fanduel, but on DraftKings, I think he looks good. Just as I don't think he's gonna win, but 7,100, 5 rounds. If it goes 5 rounds, you'll probably be able to like get you a good return, point per dollar wise. But I think Hater and Shore are probably the guys I would pay up for the most. And then you have some cheap fighters that I like Delbita and Fishgold and Stamen and Molly McCann. So I am not playing McCann at captain. Let's see if I do put Calvin Cater at captain, and then I would probably go with like Fishgold maybe and Molly McCann at $14 and Stamen and McCann, and that leaves you with like $17. So that's kind of what I like on FanDuel. I think if you want to get sneaky, you could go with like Jack Shore and then maybe skip Calvin Cater and just hope it's like a sloppy 5 round affair. But either way, I think you can't go wrong. But these three I like a lot on FanDuel. So that is it for the video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And good luck tomorrow night.